It is a great day on this Sunday morning to wear the orange. This is the House of Orange Sports Channel coming at you. Tennessee wins last night 33-14 over Mississippi State. Of course, it was a lot of questions coming out of that game. I'll try to address a little bit as far as what I've seen. A lot of you, I'm sure, have been on it, probably seen all the stuff as well. But, get into obviously the elephant in the room is Nico. Nico Iamaleava leaves the game, did not return in the second half. And, wasn't really anything that I had noticed said. They come out, here's Gaston Moore in the game. Nico's out for precautionary reasons, according to Josh Heupel. So, it remains to be seen on that. Is that the case? Because Heupel's not above being a little dishonest about the injuries. Or I wouldn't say dishonest, not telling the whole story on the injuries as well. Dante Thornton went out, upper body injuries. Well, Dylan Sampson was banged up throughout the game. Still had a pretty big game minus the fumble. But, that's going to be the big question this week. Is Nico truly going to be able to go? But there was some – and we need him. But I have some interesting observations on that as we get into it here. But Tennessee wins 33-14. It's a game where Tennessee did go down first possession. Fourth down, Nico hit Squirrel White. Touchdown, first drive. It's like, here we go. What's going on? Tennessee's driving again. They got stopped on fourth down. Dylan Sampson fumbles as they're driving. This team, it just seems like this offense cannot get out of its own way a lot of times. They had a decent night on the field. They went for, let me find it here, back to it, 452 yards last night, 212 yards passing, 13 out of 21 with 2 touchdowns. Rushing 240. I thought they had a pretty good night on the ground. And, what surprised me is I was a little concerned on Sampson because I'd been reading where it said that Cam Seldon more likely was going to redshirt at this point. Sampson goes out injured. Here comes Cam Seldon in. So that red shirt is gone. Hopefully they'll work him in a little bit. Deshaun Bishop was out, but they run Peyton Lewis a little bit more as well. Sampson, 30 carries last night. He's going to need every bit of the carries he can get this coming week as well. I really think that. Lewis, 14 for 44. Sampson, 30 for 152 and a touchdown. Seldon, 6 for 26. Nico went 4 for 22. Gaston Moore, 2 for 3 yards. 240 yards on the night, 4.2 yards per carry. I thought that was pretty good on the night for Tennessee. Their passing game, 13 out of 21 for 212, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Of course, Nico hit the 73-yarder to Dante Thornton for a touchdown. And I don't know. It was, I sat and watched the game. And I want to give a shout-out to Max Gilbert. Bouncing back, had a rough couple weeks. He bounced back, had a great night last night. 4 out of 4, hit the 51-yarder. That was big. I think that was big for Tennessee because I think this week against Georgia, possibly a few – I'm not worried about Vandy right now. This week against Georgia, you're going to need it. You're going to need those field goals, I think. And, Tennessee is they're really in control of their own fate. And, you hear stuff on SEC Nation. You hear one person say, well, a 9-3 Bama could get in the playoffs, but Tennessee needs to win out. I mean, it makes no sense. Of course, Bama, with their annihilation of LSU last night, definitely made a good case for themselves. But the bottom line, if it comes down to it, between Tennessee and Alabama, it needs to be Tennessee. Who's in? Tennessee beat them. Of course, if Nico were to be out, the committee's going to make a case like they have a couple times at this point for Alabama. They'll do what they can in that regard. But just looking at this game, looking at it from an offensive perspective, last night was the first night in a few weeks. I thought they were getting a little conservative with the play calling. Obviously, they went for 240 yards rushing, but I didn't like – I don't know. I thought the play calling was weird last night. And feel free to leave me some comments on that, what you thought about it, because I thought we were a little bit open, and then all of a sudden we're just running it. Run. And they've got to mix it up a little bit on some of these plays. Like the fourth down that was stopped on Peyton Lewis. We've seen that play now numerous times, and it's gone that same direction every time. If I'm sitting here in my recliner picking out what's going to happen, I'm figuring these guys who are getting paid a lot more money than I am can figure this out. I think Tennessee needs to mix it up a little bit. I mean, out of that play, could you play action, run a tight end out of it? I don't know what all options, who all is available during that play, because I know they're bringing some defensive linemen in. I like the play. Don't get me wrong on that. But I think it was just kind of leading up to it. I did not like the play calling up to that point. But, I say that there's never going to be a game where every play call is going to be perfect. There just isn't. A lot of it is up to the execution as well. But passing game a little bit, had some good moments last night. I think there were some moments not so good. There were some throws not hit. I'm trying to think along the way. There was one or two I thought should have been pass interference calls that weren't, and then they did get some pass interference calls also. The running game, I mean, other than Sampson's fumble, I thought the running game was really good last night. I thought the offensive line was doing its job. Trying to think, Aaron. There were no sacks last night. That was encouraging to me, and I really didn't feel like either guy was, severely threatened while he was in the pocket. That to me was a positive, because there's been pressure. Now I know Mississippi State's not as good as these other teams, but still, yet I thought that was a positive, that I didn't really feel like Nico nor Gaston Moore were pressured a whole lot last night. I know when Gaston Moore come in, there was some plays where he had all the time in the world back there to throw. And so that was a I thought the line did a good job last night with the run game, and I thought they did a good job in pass protection as well last night. The defense, man, there were times I felt like the defense was getting shredded in the running game. But then you look back and they held Mississippi State to their lowest total of the year last night. They held Mississippi State to 271 yards of offense. Mississippi State did get 179 on the ground, but only 92 passing. Tennessee did a good job on that. And then there were times where, I don't know, I felt like Mississippi State's line, I felt, was getting a little bit of the better at Tennessee's line for a portion of the game. Now, I thought Tennessee's line kind of took over, especially latter part of the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, especially when Mississippi State dropped back to pass. I thought they started making Mississippi State's quarterback live really hard last night. But, their quarterback, he was able to get out of the pocket some. Michael Van Buren Jr., he was able to get out of the pocket a little bit because he went, but it says he only went 8 carries for 19 yards. They had Booth went for 127. Johnny Daniels went for 65. I think that's one thing last couple weeks. Tennessee, Kentucky, and Mississippi State run a little bit more on Tennessee than they're accustomed to. So you got to think Georgia will try to do the same this week. But that's a Georgia offense that's struggling. And make no mistake about it, Tennessee can go down here and win this game this week. This Georgia team is very beatable. I have to see it to believe it. I'm not going to sit here and lie about it. I have to see it to believe it. It's going to be in Athens. Georgia's coming off of a loss. But I think Tennessee, I think their defense can make things happen this week. My big question is, it's the SEC night game. Tennessee, can they get over those road night woes against teams other than Kentucky and Vanderbilt? That's going to be the question. They've had success against those two teams. They've not had success against any other SEC teams on the road at night. LSU was during the day when they did that. Of course, Oklahoma they did this year. So let me rephrase that. Other than Oklahoma, and which I think a lot of them said they didn't play their best game that night, but they won the game. So let me rephrase that a little bit. Arkansas should have been a win, and Tennessee's been home ever since that. So that's going to be a road environment they haven't been on in a month and a half now. How does Tennessee respond to that? Is Nico good to go? And I mentioned earlier, talked about the offense. It was funny to me. I thought the play calling changed when Gaston Moore come in. I thought it was more open, to be honest with you. I thought they went quicker for a portion of time. Seemed to me like the offense was a little more wide open. Now, this is a guy who's been in the offense for 5 years. So, I mean, that's encouraging to me that they, in the event that it is Gaston Moore this week, I know Heupel said that he expects Nico to be available to play. I've seen it was concussion. I've seen it shoulder injury. The only thing we know for sure, it said upper body injury. So in the event that Nico cannot play this week and Gaston Moore does, what encouraged me is they did go fast, that it seemed to be the offense was pretty wide open. Don't get me wrong, though. We need Nico playing this week over Gaston Moore. You can see a big difference in the two. I think the biggest difference is probably Nico's grasp and maybe the trust level to an extent as well. It'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see who plays next week on that. But make no mistake about it. I'll reiterate it again. That game is very winnable next week at Georgia. I won't pick it. I'll be honest. If we'll do our Monday night show tomorrow, I'm not picking it. I'm setting this one out this week because I can't pick Tennessee to win in Athens until I see it. I just can't. And I've gone in person 3 times to Knoxville to watch them play Georgia. Every time I've gone, Georgia's won. I said I won't go back. And then just the way Kirby has kind of had Josh Heupel's number, and I know there's been a talent discrepancy. It's not as much this year, so maybe that makes a difference. But I have to see it to believe it. But it is very winnable. It is very winnable this week. Offense last night, I'll give it a B. I thought they hit some big plays, which was big. Running game, I thought was good. Other than the fumble, Dylan Sampson's got to fix the fumbling. Love Dylan Sampson. Dude is a stud. That's 3 games in a row, though. And these hits have been legit. I mean, don't get me wrong, but got to fix that. That's 3 games in a row, deep into the opponent's territory that he's done it too. Those are killer. You do that against Georgia, that'll come back to bite you at some point. I thought the defense, I'll give them a B, just because on the second touchdown, the linebackers they spread out and were gone. I didn't think the linebackers had their best night last night. I didn't think the safeties were in position a lot of times last night. I mean, there were times they were, but there were other times where I thought they were out of position. But when it come down to it, the latter part of the game, they shut Mississippi State down. I'll give them a B on the night. I thought there was some good. I thought there were some things that need to be better. Special teams, I'm going A last night. I'm giving them A. Max Gilbert bounced back. And what do you know? We put a guy back who can return the football, and you see a little bit of a return game last night. Boo Carter looked good. Boo, a little times made your heart skip a beat or two. But I thought Boo had a really good game last night. Boo Carter is a player. He is a stud. Let's make no mistake about that. That dude is a stud. Punt returning at corner. He's going to be – he had a night last night. He had he had the interception as well. Had some good big tackles. Boo Carter, to me, was probably about the best player on the field last night. No concerns going forward. It's the health of Nico. James Pierce Jr. went out at one point. Dylan Sampson went out at one point. Dante Thornton went out, among others. Let's hope those guys are healthy this week. You're going to need those guys going down to Georgia. And what is your biggest task of the year? I don't care if Georgia lost yesterday or not. It's still going to be a huge task. It's going to take a big-time effort to go to Athens and win. Lots of content coming this week. I think I've gotten all trips, all things out of the way at this point for the foreseeable future up till Thanksgiving. So it should be able to fully focus on, the live shows, the different sports and these things. I got video coming later today. I'll talk about the basketball win from yesterday. I'm going to record later today too. I went down Friday night to the Orange and White Fall World Series down to Smoky Stadium. What a cool environment, man. And to think Tennessee baseball is bringing in that many people for a fall ball intra-squad scrimmage, more or less. I'll give you my observations, my feedback on that. Really cool experience there as well. So got lots of stuff coming today. I'll probably do a Lady Vols video. So I'm looking at possibly doing up to a total of 4 videos. And if there's anything breaks today, then I'll bring that as well. But I'm going to try to really be on it this week with numerous basketball games going on with the Georgia game. Go hit it hot and heavy. Probably in between, let's see, Monday night live show, Tuesday night basketball post game, Wednesday. I'm trying to think. I think the men, it's going to be action packed this week. I hope you'll be with me on that. Make sure you hit the thumbs up the share, the subscribe. Those are greatly appreciated. And if you want to say thanks, there's that super thanks down the bottom right-hand corner. There are the memberships, the Patreons as well to check out also. Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. Have a great rest of your Sunday. And last but most certainly not least, go Vols.